What's up, everybody? This is Air Paris. Give me back my pro wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and it is me, your host, Jimmy Street, here as always. And guys, I hope y'all are having an awesome day out there. It's so hot lately. I really hope y'all are able to stay cool in some way. It is brutal here in North Carolina, tipping 95, 98 to 100 degrees. Got that feels like weather, you know what I'm saying? So it is just ridiculous. So hopefully today we can help you stay cool. And guys, I am so excited about the one we have today. Seriously, Air Paris, the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Air Paris is on the show today. And that's right, I've been wanting to get Frank on for a long time, predating this show back to other podcasts. So I'm very happy today that we've got Frank on the show, and I just can't wait to hear what he's got to say and all the cool stories. Of course, you know, best friend with AJ Styles, wrestled in Nashville, all over Georgia, worked in WCW. Gonna have a great story. Y'all stick around for that. Before we get to Frank, though, we've got to cover last week. Of course, last week's episode was the one and only Rusty Riddle. Rusty is awesome. Thank you so much, Rusty. Rusty really put in some time for that podcast, man, and I can't thank him enough. So thank you so much, Rusty. Really had a good time hearing all these cool stories about Tommy Angel and your time all over and learning with Nelson and Gene. So if y'all enjoy any of those shows like the David Isley, the Gene Ligon, Tommy Angel, of course, Firebreaker Chip, Todd Champion, if you enjoyed those, this episode is kind of in that same vibe, if that makes sense, because they were all trained by the same guys. But anyway, check out the Rusty Riddle episode. I think y'all really enjoy it. All right, guys, that is all I have for the open today. Sheik and Quinton are joining me on the other side. Welcome to episode 130 with Air Paris. All right, we are back with a very special guest. Guys, this has been someone that I have wanted on since the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Air Paris. How are you doing, Frank? You doing good, brother?
Man, I am doing well. As Bart Sawyer would say, life is good. Is everybody all right on y'all's end?
Oh, yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah.
Good.
So let's just go ahead and start out with this. Basically, it was really cool, man, because back in February, we saw you on Raw for AJ Styles' retirement. Man, you look great. What a cool moment that was. How was that, bro?
Man, so that's funny. There's actually a pretty funny story behind that whole deal too. And you guys being in the business, you'll love this story because I told my wife this and she didn't get it. But so I was at home the Monday before, and I'd been talking to Alan and Wendy a little bit going into Rumble and all that stuff, kind of, you know, just being kind of a little bit of a sports system man. But I was at home that Monday before, and my phone rang, and you guys are about to pop. So my phone rang, and I looked down, and it was like I think a 213 or whatever that area code is. It said Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh.
And I said, no, there's no way, right?
Finally.
So I did what everybody who's so far removed from the business like myself did, and I didn't answer it.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes later, a text comes through and says, "Hey, man, this is John Cohn, head of talent relations. We're doing this big celebration for Alan's retirement in Atlanta, and he'd like for you to be there. Can you make it?" And I said, "Absolutely." So that's kind of how that came to be, man. So that was a cool thing. One, to be asked. He didn't really ask for a lot of people to be there. It was kind of a smaller thing. He didn't want to overdo it, or you know how he is. He's pretty humble anyway. He doesn't like to kind of be the center of too much attention. But to get to be there and be a part of it, it was cool, man. You know, it's one of those things where I tell my kids that if you're going to be attached to somebody, you know, for the rest of your life, I'm glad that I'm attached to the business through Alan, because he's somebody they can look up to, and you're not going to Google his name and have a bunch of controversy come up or a bunch of stuff that I don't want my kids looking at or, you know, being attached to. So it was cool, man. Very, very cool.
Yeah, very coul. And I mean, I was so glad that they brought that back to Georgia, because I mean, come on, you know, Saudi Arabia getting to, I mean, it's cool that he did that, and it was a cool match and all that, but it was really cool that they came home and he left all his stuff in the ring. That was so cool, man. And then seeing you there, man, that was just awesome. So very cool.
Well, I don't think anybody was more disappointed than he was about the Saudi, you know, and he understands at the end of the day, it's a business, it's a job, you know, and the company makes those calls. But man, 2 weeks later in Atlanta, to me, it made all that sense. Thankfully, WWE and him they found the right spot and made that happen to where he could do it at home. And, you know, all those folks in that arena, man, everybody wanted to be there to celebrate him. So I'm glad it actually worked out that way. I watched the Saudi thing, but I mean, it was just kind of bittersweet because I don't think anybody was there. None of the family was there, you know, and it was just, it wasn't kind of as special as it should be. So that's why I'm glad Atlanta happened too.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I mean, we wanted AJ to continue as long as he could. And if he went out when he wanted to go out, that's all that matters, man. So that's all.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we talked. We'll sit down and we haven't done this in probably 20 years, maybe. Well, probably at least 15 before that. But we got to sit down for an hour, probably, just he and I for a while. And just talk, man, just catch up about stuff and reminisce about old stuff. And it was funny, man. We were talking, and I was like, man, it's crazy how far, you know, from Cornelia and doing this and how people thought we were doing this. And he's like, man, well, you had all this psychology and this. And I said, dude, I didn't have any psychology. I just blew up, and I need to grab a rest hold. So people thought that I had psychology because I would get tired and put something in the match where I could breathe.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, just it was cool, man. And then, you know, after or right actually before the spot, my daughter and wife got to come back. My oldest daughter Perry, she got to come backstage and hang out a little bit and get to meet everybody she wanted. Shane Helms has been a good friend for a long time, and he kind of stood there by the gorilla position. Was like, hey Perry, you want to meet like Bailey? And then somebody would walk by, you want to meet Io? You want to meet New Day? And got kind of a really cool star treatment from everybody too. That's the coolest thing about wrestling for me now, is that my kid gets to do all this cool stuff that I dreamed of as a kid. And so, you know, that's the payoff for me at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get it on to Air Paris. We're going to take the first question, and we always kick it to the Plastic Sheik. So, Sheik, take that one away.
All right. So this is a question that gets asked a lot. And, you know,
okay.
I want this question to be answered from the perspective of, you know, like people you worked with, people you maybe grew up watching that inspired you, or people that you just watched and said, man, that person's work is amazing. If you had a Mount Rushmore, 4 to 5 names in the business, what would that Mount Rushmore look like?
So that's and it's, I mean, I think our answer's probably all very similar. That's changed as I've gotten older.
Right. Yeah.
Man, if you ask me as a kid or in, you know, 99, 2000, Shawn Michaels was my guy. And, you know, I'll never work there, so I don't mind saying as I've gotten older and I'm kind of, as I've grown up, I've kind of noticed the person nobody could touch him in the ring, of course, you know. But, man, I'm so much more of a Brett guy now than I ever was a Shawn, as far as, like, the human aspect of it, too. I think it may be because I'm a little grumpy and kind of not bitter, but, you know, I see a lot more of Brett in me than I do Shawn in 97, that kind of stuff. Yeah. As far as work goes, those two guys, man, I grew up a huge Flair guy. And again, man, my taste is sort of changing on Flair as I get older because of,
right.
You know, it's just, if I could have just paused Ric Flair in 2005 and had that, you know, what was the song they played for his retirement? The Leave the Memories Alone.
Yeah.
If I could just keep that view of Flair for the rest of my life and not kind of have the social media monster that we have now, I think I would absolutely put Flair there. But, AJ Styles goes on there. It's one of those things where I get called the Marty Jannetty of that tag team quite a bit. I'm like, well, that's not a bad thing. Marty was a tremendous wrestler,
Marty can go.
So it's dude, yeah. I mean, whose fault is it that we were partners with the greatest wrestler of the whole generation at that point? So,
right.
So I would definitely say Allen's on there, and then probably, man, Mysterio. I'd probably say Brett, Sean, Allen, and Mysterio are the guys that really just are. If I had to put on a match and watch somebody, and then Terry Funk's probably a real close, like an alternate on there too, man.
There you go. That's a great list. I often think if I could freeze Ric Flair at like 2015-16, it'd probably be I feel like everything he's trying his best to like tarnish his reputation. It's like, come on, just stop.
Oh my gosh, man. And it breaks my heart too, because man, Flair was always like, he never really knew who I was. Me and Borash had a cool moment with him at the last Nitro, I think it was the last Nitro we did in Gainesville, Florida. Me and Borash were hanging out after the show, and Flair was in the bars, and it was just us basically after the show. The bar was about to close down. Flair walks back in and goes, "Hey, we're opening it back up. These guys are with me. Give them whatever they're drinking." Cool. Get to be around Flair, but man, it's just folks change, and it's not my place to judge him. But God, I wish Ric Flair was still Ric Flair from like you said, 2015 or so.
Yeah. And AJ, man, he's the reason I really got my son. He was born in 2016. Him coming back, or him debuting at the Royal Rumble and getting back into wrestling, that really kind of got me back into watching the main product a little bit. Yeah. And that's the reason my son loves wrestling, probably. So
very cool.
AJ's always on my list, and he's so awesome. And it's one of those things that I knew his retirement was coming soon, but I really hated for it.
You weren't ready for it, were you?
I wasn't ready for it.
None of them. Well, that's. Even though we're the same age, that's our generation kind of coming to an end too. Because he's been, and what I was telling him too. It's one of those things where the only person in the world that doesn't know how important AJ Styles is him. He doesn't see the value in AJ Styles that everybody. He knows he's good. He knows he's a great wrestler. He knows he's a good hand. He knows all that, but he doesn't realize how much he means to other people. And I told him, I said, man, you're this whole generation's guy. When we were coming up, Sean and Brett were our guys. You're that to this generation of people. So this is a big thing for him.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could not agree more with that. Absolutely.
So this question is like a multi-part question. So kind of hang with me on this one. All right. So first, I'm going to start out with who trained you? What year and where'd you train at?
So that's a funny story. How do I say this? I don't claim the person who taught me how to bump. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my sister was married to a local guy. Never was anybody. Never really was anything. But I was a little kid, and I got to be around local wrestling shows. And they had a ring. I'm like 7, 8 years old. And so I would get in the ring, and they would just pick me up and throw me around. So you know how that is, that little kid that's a hang around, the little pain in the ass that everybody wants to go away. I was that kid. And so I got to hang around and do all that stuff. And so that went on for several years. And then September 25th, had to think of the date earlier, of 93, I was 14 in a little bitty town close to where I live called Gore, Georgia, in probably front of about, 7 people. And that's not exact, and that includes family and security probably, and maybe the referee. But they needed somebody to do a quick squash, so they threw a hood on me, and I had my first match at 14. Had no business being. If I was 100 pounds, I'd be surprised. But that's what that was just kind of a foot in the door, and I started doing those little local shows. And then I met David Young and Bobby Hayes. Those are guys from Georgia, wonderful wrestlers, guys that were around, worked with everybody, did TNA, WCW, WWE enhancement, all that stuff too. And that's when I learned to wrestle, was when I started working with those guys, because that was just on the job training. If you're going to be in the ring with those guys, you gotta learn something, you gotta get better. And I was just real fortunate to get to work. I probably wrestled David, oh my God, I would say 700 times. I mean, we would do it twice a day for Bert, 5 days a week sometimes. So
yeah,
I really give most of the credit for, and I don't know if he would want the credit, but I give most of the credit to David Young for teaching me how to wrestle, though.
That's cool.
Yeah. So what name did you use in that first match? Do you remember?
Oh my God, it's the worst, brother. And it's super literal. Are you ready for this? You'll never, it's a little on the nose, but they called me the wrestling kid because I was a kid that was wrestling. So that's what they threw at me.
Okay.
That's not bad. It's better than,
I've heard way worse.
Hey, it's better than Chase Stevens' first name.
What was Chase?
Iglesias or something like that.
Iglesias, yes.
Yeah.
Iglesias.
Now don't get us heat with Chase on here. Now he'll
Please
start calling
no.
us all up.
I don't want Chase.
We don't want residual heat. No.
No, he actually laughs about it when he tells the story.
The best part is after that. Then after I learned to do a little bit, then I became Kid Ego. I had a skateboard that I never could ride because I'm not coordinated enough. But and then finally I grew out of that. And I was actually still Kid Ego up until Bill Behrens. When I first started working with those guys in that NWA Georgia before it became Wildside. Yeah. Bill said, "I hate the name Kid." He said, "The only person who can be 40 years old and be called a kid is Shawn Michaels." And he said, "So we got to get rid of that." And he said, "We're going to call you Air Paris." And I hated it. It was the worst name I'd ever heard in my entire life. But he gave it to me. Those, I was working for him, so I took it. And honestly, it just it just stuck and feels more right than anything I ever actually used besides that.
Totally. Yeah. So you started in the North Georgia Wrestling Alliance, and then and just from my research, it says it looked like you took a 3-year break, and then in '99 you debuted for NWA Wildside. What made you take that break, or did you take a break, and what brought you back?
No, so what happened was those shows were just so terrible that nobody ever documented them.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. From '93, so I graduated high school in '97, and I was already, I guess, a 4-year veteran at that point, if you could call me that, from doing those local shows. But those shows just mattered so very little that nobody ever really, there's no record of those things or anything like that. Okay. But I never really took a break until after WCW, and the whole Vince McMahon, all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Got it.
All right, so then you started tagging with Cassidy Riley as the Hot Shots. Talk about Cassidy a little bit.
Oh, Cass is great, man. Cass is one of those guys, and you got no. He's just good-hearted, good person, fun to be around, man. He and I were, we both got brought in. I think I was in Nashville a little sooner than he was, because I started working for Bill, and then I started going to Nashville and doing those shows, working with David at first doing singles, and Cass and I were both kind of those low, opener baby faces that were kind of just not doing a whole lot. And so we just started hanging out, and that, how Bert was, if you're hanging out with somebody, you might as well be a tag team. So he put us together, and it worked, man. Me and Cass had fun together. We traveled together. I always had, good chemistry. So Cass is so easy to work with, though. He's a pro, Yeah. But no, love my time hanging out with Cass. Loved wrestling against him. I didn't get to do that nearly as much as I wanted to. Got to have a few matches against each other, but we tagged a lot, man. Working with Corey and Ashley mostly. Yeah. Thank God, because some of those tag teams that came through Nashville at that point weren't quite as polished as those guys. So thankfully, we got stuck with the New South for a while.
Yeah.
So, how's that for towing the line just a little bit? Not quite as polished as the New South. But honestly, who was as polished as Corey and Ashley? Those guys were unbelievable.
Yeah, talk about them for a minute, man. They are underrated for sure.
Dude, so good. They only hurt me once, and they only hurt Cass once out of all the times we wrestled. We were, and Cass could probably tell you the story better than I, or Ashley can probably tell it better than any of us, because he's the one that just dodged Cassidy. Oh man, it's funny. I got a hold of Corey and Ashley together. We have a little text, group, just us three, and we'll text every once in a while and just, wish each other, a good day or this or that. But man, we got to talk, and we were on the phone for 3 hours one night, man, just old times. Just those guys are the best, man. But
That's
we were
awesome.
wrestling at some flea market for Bert. I have no idea, like Columbia, Tennessee or something, and outdoor show, and Cass called a dive, and Ashley said he didn't hear it. He certainly didn't. He certainly didn't catch it. I can tell you that. He as soon as Cass started jumping, Ashley walked the other way. It was kind of like the Samoa Joe spot, but not intentional. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He just walks away, and Cass just completely. Thankfully, it was on dirt, so he didn't hurt himself, but. That was the time he dropped Cass, and then we always did this spot where Corey would shoot me off, and we would do this big tilt-a-whirl backbreaker where he would spin around a couple times and then drop me, and Ashley would do that pull-over leg drop that he did from the outside in. And we were doing it at a WCW Saturday night taping. They gave us like a little dark match to kind of warm the crowd up, and I looked up, and the only time Corey ever put me in the wrong spot was this time, and I looked up, and Ashley's big ass was coming right towards my face. And he said, "Sorry, mate, WCW, gotta land it." And I just had to take it, but he couldn't not do it at that point. We had to do it, but man, love working with those guys. Just fortunate they were so good. They made everything was just so easy for us. You know, all the heat they had made it so much easier for us to get over, and just be, you know, again, just pros, man.
Well, let them know in that text chain that they are welcome on this podcast anytime they
Absolutely.
wish. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was funny with that group. We traveled a lot together. It was like me, Cass, Corey, Ashley. That was kind of the core four. Chris Harris was always with us when we started doing those loops for WCW. So man, you would just have all of us in a van. So you can imagine those times. You know, just the best, man. You know, my life is great where it's at, but man, if I could go back and do those things again, it'd be hard to not at least want to.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sheik.
Good times.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So in May of '99, you win the NWA Georgia Junior title from David Young. Tell us a little bit about David.
I just wondered when that son of a bitch was a junior. That's what I wondered. David's big as a house, man. If he was a junior, I was a featherweight, man. No, Dave's the best, man. I talked to David Young yesterday. As a matter of fact, he's like my big brother. I've been annoying him since I was 8 years old, probably. Mm-hmm. And I'll be 48. I've been picking on David or bothering him and being on his last nerve for nearly 40 years at this point, which blows my mind. Yeah. Again, man, just one of those guys who never got anywhere near the push or the chance that he deserved, or I don't want to say was owed, but Dave's one of those guys who was just a good soldier. He never would say no. He would just always do what was asked. And you know, sometimes you kind of got to be a little bit of a squeaky wheel to kind of to not get pushed down. And Dave was one of those guys, man. He saw it as a job. He was being paid to do something. He was going to do it as good as he could or as good as anybody, but he never would say no to anything. So he never really kind of made that advocate. He was never an advocate for himself as much as I think he should be. David should have been, you know, an X Division champion at some point, probably. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good guy. Very good performer as well. Yeah.
Oh, he's wonderful, man. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny. I've kind of quietly gotten in some pretty good shape, and he said, "Are we doing another match?" And I said, "Let's do it." So Dave's kind of well, you know, I don't want to embarrass ourselves, but he's working on getting in some shape too, kind of getting in ring shape, and we may do like an old timers Dory Funk kind of a match at some point, just see if we can get one more out of us.
Yes, please do that. That would be awesome.
All right, so on September 25th, 1999, you worked the NWA 51st anniversary show. You worked in the Battle Royal for the junior heavyweight title. You got any stories about that show?
I do. I don't. Honestly, I didn't remember the match at all. Somebody posted that. I remember I was there. I think was it in Charlotte or something?
Yeah. Looked like. Yeah.
I think So the memory, the takeaway I have from that. And it's a great story. I'll tell it. Hopefully it doesn't piss anybody off, but we were in the dressing room, and I'd only been around Abdullah, you know, limited times, you know, and he was still pretty intimidating at that point. Mm-hmm. But we were all in the dressing room kind of doing this thing, and I'm over, these people are going through this. There's some guys in that match that I wrestled with. I think Tony Kazina is one of the guys that I remembered working with, but there were some guys in there who were went on to be pretty big names that I just honestly didn't have the recollection of getting to work with, which is kind of bad. But man, we were all on kind of like this stage, this big wooden stage, and you know how those big gyms and sound and motion, and if you hit those stages, how it is. But it was almost like somebody took a gigantic brick, or you ever take a book and slam it on a table? You know, that real solid sound. So multiply that times a few hundred, and the whole stage shook. And I looked over, and Abdul the Butcher is sitting on his rear end. His chair's broken, and Abby's taking a big butt bump right on the stage before the show, the only bump he took that night. And I look over, and he's got these wild eyes, man, and I'm like, oh, God, what do we do? And he just starts laughing. With that big, high-pitched voice, that laugh starts coming out, and I was like, oh, thank God. But that's the big key takeaway I've got is Abdul's big bump before the show. It was just this huge. He just took the biggest bump, man. The stage shook, and I look over, and he's got the Abdullah eyes on, and it terrified me for the 30 seconds before he started laughing. Yeah. But sadly, that's my big key takeaway from that.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, that's probably the only bump Abby's took in the last however long that was. I don't know how many he actually. He would drop the elbow, but he didn't take too many bumps in those days.
Right.
No. Yeah. All right. So this next part, I'm sure you could probably go about 20 hours on this guy. So you go work for Bert in Nashville. So how did you first meet Bert, and what was your first impression of Bert? And then give us one of the probably 9 million Bert stories.
So I was a problem child for Bert. So as you can imagine, me and Cass, we were young and trying to live like rock stars. So we were enjoying all the perks of Nashville and being 21 and having hookups on 2nd Avenue and all that. But so I think I originally met Bert. He may have came to a Bill show or something to that effect, or it may have been the first time I actually got booked in Nashville. I honestly don't have recollection of the first time. Bert was a promoter through and through. You know, he's one of those guys who, if it was going to make him money, he was gonna do whatever it took. You know, I never had the problems a lot of people did. I think I was one of those guys who. I didn't mind getting in trouble. Does that make sense? So I probably was one of those problem childs that I would just ask for forgiveness later on. But I didn't, you know, I never kind of towed the line. A lot of guys were always afraid to get in trouble with Bert because he would fire guys quickly. You know, he would yell at them and fire them. And I probably got fired 2 or 3 times. And then it was like, no, never mind. It's fine. Just quit going out and doing whatever you and Cass are doing. But no, good promoter, pushed us to get the WCW stuff going. I mean, was a huge advocate. If he liked you, you know, he would push for you harder than anybody. Between him and Bill, you know, without those guys, there's no chance I ever would have gotten an opportunity in WCW at all, I don't think, because I never would have met Terry Taylor, never would have gotten to do any of that extra work. It just, you know, owe a lot to both of them, man.
Yeah, definitely. You know, so this is kind of when I was working on these questions, Quinton and I were talking about this. This was a confusing time for Nashville because I had to go to Quinton to clear some of this up. But so Reno and Bert and Porter were all kind of running similar named shows and shows that were kind of one would take over for the other. So it says you worked for the Main Event promotion, but was that Reno or was that Porter, or did you work both?
I think I was only mentioned on Reno's promotion one time.
Right.
But that was, I think Les Thatcher said they've got a 140-pound kid on the other channel beating guys. We've got real pro wrestlers or something like that, which nothing but respect for Les, but no, I never actually worked with those guys, man. I got to be around Reno and Steve a little bit. Huge respect for those guys are, again, man, just that's what pro wrestlers are supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did work Columbia shows. That was Columbia where Main Event for Porter was.
Yeah.
Porter's I did a lot of those shows, like the Columbia shows. I think it used to be like a batting cage or some kind of a sports complex or something like that there. So that's the Main Event I would have worked for. Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Yes, that's the one. I got stuck, me and Kid Romeo. When we got the power plant guys, I got not stuck with. I got tasked with 2 guys to kind of help work with and sort of, I guess just give them reps. And one was Kid Romeo, which me and Sam, we still chat a little bit here and there. We had good chemistry, but the other was Elix Skipper. So when Elix got pushed up to there, I got to work with Elix quite a bit, man. And that's before he got stiff. So I didn't take all those stiff kicks and stuff. I got Elix before he got mean.
Do you have any stories about Elix and Kid?
So I've got a funny story about Elix, man.
Okay.
So we and I won't give too many. I want to protect some of the innocent names, but
Understand.
I got booked on a show against Elix, and we showed up, and we'll get there. The promotion is called Fake Wrestling, FAKE Pro Wrestling.
Oh man.
And yeah, there's not really a crowd there, and the guys that are there, and the guy that promoted it actually went on to become a really good wrestler. He's done some great promoting since, and to this day, he's got a really successful show. I don't want to crap on him when he started, but I mean, this was sort of a son his dad was trying to give him a show, and this was kind of what he did. But we get there, and there's no crowd. There's no money. We're pretty far out from where either Elix or either one would be. And so they had this beautiful belt, man. This beautiful custom-made fake pro wrestling belt, man. I mean, just a custom full, it was engraved. It was actual metal and all this. So Elix still has that belt to this day, I do believe. He didn't get his money, so he took that belt with him as a bit of a payment. I think he eventually got paid. I got paid 6 or 7 months down the road, but it was just one of those things where we showed up, and I said, I don't got to take that kick now, do I? Elix, because this is when he was kicking everybody in the back as hard as he could on TNA.
Yeah.
And I said, so since this is fake wrestling, you're not going to really kick me, are you? And this is before we found out we weren't getting paid and left. But that's one of my favorite Elix stories.
That is awesome. Fake crowd, fake money, fake everything, right?
Man, but honestly, if I told you who the kid is that went on, and I just don't want to tarnish what he's become, because he's become a good wrestler, man, and he runs really credible shows. I mean, he does great now. I don't want to tarnish what he's done since by, everybody's got that first embarrassing show under their belt, I guess. So
definitely,
I don't want to tarnish everything good he's done since by throwing his name out there. But he does good now.
Well, that's awesome. That's good. Because that's exactly how wrestling should be. You want to perform and you want to get better, and that's good because that's how it's supposed to be. That's awesome. And around this time that you were working with Elix and Kid, another guy, and honestly, we could talk all day about this guy too, just how completely underrated this guy as a pro wrestler is, how he never truly got his shot, how if he would have got his shot, he would have made it. Chris Michaels, man. What can you say about Chris?
Oh, Chris was great, man. I didn't get to work with Chris as much as I would have liked either. There's a clip that Brian Turner throws around quite a bit of Chris just wrecking me with a chair shot. Have you guys seen that recently?
I've seen that before. Yeah, I haven't in a while, but
but you know what? It was safe. I mean, he hit me hard in the safe spot. I mean, it was my head, so he's not going to really hurt me. But Chris was one of those guys, man. When I first came into Nashville, he always looked the part. Chris was in shape. He had nice gear. He could wrestle. I mean, Chris was one of those guys that we all honestly looked up to. Chris was wonderful, dude. He was big time ready as soon as I got to Nashville. I don't know, you see him on these dark matches, like his WWE stuff. I mean, he looked as good as the guys he's working in the ring. The fact that he didn't get a shot, it's criminal. I don't understand how he didn't get to do more, man. Flash Flanagan's one of those guys too, man.
Oh,
Flash
totally.
Was great to work with, dude. I got to wrestle with Flash a couple times. Really enjoyed working with Flash. We both like that sort of the Sabu style. We like doing some of the springboards and things like that. But Flash was one of those guys too, man. I don't know how he didn't get a bigger opportunity as good as he was.
Yeah, man, he is incredible and funny too.
Absolutely.
That guy is so funny, like hilarious. Yeah, I've had him on a podcast a couple times, and that guy just is hilarious, man. So, anyway.
I think there's a pretty good clip of him wrecking. I think there's a good shot of him wrecking me with a chair, too. There's a common thread kind of evolving here. Maybe that's why I can't remember stuff so much.
It sounds, maybe, I don't know. Maybe CTE or whatever. I don't know. I hope you're doing okay with that, though. So.
so far so good, man.
That's good. That's good.
So in March of 2000, you started working in WCW, and I know you said, that working for Bert and meeting Terry Taylor and everything kind of got you in with WCW.
Yep.
Your first TV match was against 3 Count on the Saturday Night Show. How was it working those guys?
Oh, great, man. Is it okay if I sidebar to my actual first appearance with WCW?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a cool little story.
Yeah.
So my first day in the company ever was actually January 3rd of 2000.
Wow.
I got sent to, I think it was Greenville. And I tell the joke that it's the closest my mom's ever gotten to having a doctor for a son, because if you go back and watch at the end of the show, it's when they were doing that NWO reboot. It was the Silver and Black or whatever.
Right.
So Bret Hart and Jeff are in the ring beating up Sid, right? So naturally, WCW does what they should do, and they send me to save him. I mean, I'm going to go save Sid. So they sent me and a guy named TJ Gray who did some Nashville stuff. We were fake paramedics. We ran in to save Sid. The Prodigy, yeah. TJ, good guy, man. Georgia guy. Traveled a lot with him. Our vehicle from Georgia for quite a while was David driving. Me, TJ, and Bart Sawyer when Bart was living, he actually lived with David for a little while when he was in Atlanta. But they sent us down and we got some crazy stories. There's a ball field story that's the absolute craziest thing you'll ever hear in your life. If you want, I'll tell that in a minute. But
please, yeah.
They send us to the ring, and I get hit with a baseball bat, so I go down. Right? TJ forgets that he's not Superman, and he keeps getting up. TJ keeps getting up, so Bret comes over and stands with it. Remember, everybody wore those high tech 9/11 boots back in the day.
Yep.
He comes over and stands on TJ's face to get him to stay down for a bit. And then I got spray painted NWO. Jeff spray painted me NWO my first night ever in the company, which is, it's so funny looking back. I almost kept that paramedic uniform, but I gave it back. They just trashed it. How cool would it be to have that now? It's just like as a souvenir.
Totally.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That would have been cool to have. But,
very cool.
But back to 3 Count though, man. Shannon and Shane actually got me that match. Those guys always looked out for me. Just, again, good dudes, man. Evan was okay. Evan was great. Evan was the body guy of the group. Never had anywhere near the wrestling ability, I'll say. He wasn't bad. He was solid. He just. I mean, how many Shane Helmses are you going to really come across?
Right.
But yeah, those guys went to bat, got me the match, to put their neck out there for me. Great guys, man. Shane, like I was saying that when I was at Raw, it was just down home day. We got to spend, probably an hour or so just he and I chatting too. It was funny. He said, "Dude, go get you some food and cater." And I said, And he said, "It's not the same as it used to be." He said, "That PTSD can go away. Go get you some food, man. Nobody's going to be rude to you here." So it was way different, man. He really made me feel welcome. And again, Shannon was awesome too. Just those guys were great. I was always closer with Shane than I was Shannon, but again, we always got along. We did a pay-per-view. Did you see Gallows? This thing he did during COVID, like the Talking Shop of Mania.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I think it was the second one we did. My spot was actually with Shane, where Shane was doing the Gregory Helms, the reporter. He was researching, I think the storyline was somebody was murdering wrestlers or something. I don't remember. And I go walking by a barbershop window, which is funny with the genetic references.
Yeah.
So actually, the only time I ever got to feed Shane a line, he said, I had him ask me, where were you March 26, 2001? That was the last Nitro, and I said, I was at home. They fired me the week before. So, Shane's always been, dude, such a good guy, man. Again, and he treated my daughter wonderful at WWE. One of those guys, man, that may not see him for a couple years at a time, but we send funny texts back and forth all the time, memes and things like that. Just one of those guys that hopefully I'm friends with the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What a great guy. Go ahead, Q.
You want to hear the ball field story, don't you?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Please,
yeah, so sorry, brother. Didn't cut that off. Yeah.
No.
Bad.
This one's quick. So it was some Bert show on a baseball field in the middle of nowhere in Amish country. I want to say Kentucky. You guys have done those shows before too, probably.
Right.
And the truck was, it was me, Bart, David was driving, and Prodigy. And so me and David did our match, and we're finished. And the biggest thunderstorm you've ever seen starts whipping up, right? Mm-hmm. So we get all of our bags and put it in the car. Me and David are in the truck. And so Prodigy and Bart are wrestling each other. And Bart's like, when I give you the signal, bring it on. You remember Bart and how he was. So they get ready to go home. About that time, David floors this truck. We go barreling towards this. We're going across a ball field while they're in the ring wrestling. And this storm's whipping up, wind's flying all around. David Dukes of Hazzards his truck, slides us up next to the ring. They both jump in the truck, and we haul ass. Like, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, literally, right in front of the people. We just pull up, slide up next to the ring. They both jump out in their gear, get in, and we just leave.
That's amazing.
Bert was so pissed. You're going to kill the business. We did that one night. Me and Chris Harris were wrestling in, was it Hopkinsville, I think? Yeah. And we wanted to get to the bar after the show. And you know how if you're coming back, it takes a little while to get there. So we said, what kind of finish do you want? He said, do whatever you want. I don't care. And he throws his hands up. You know how that was.
Oh, yeah.
And so we put our bags in. So we throw our bags in the car, and we fight out. We got the crowd following us. It's hot. Me and Kat are having a good match. And he throws me in the trunk of his Camaro. We take off. Again, Bert was so pissed, man. He was so mad. He's like, how are you going to what do we do to do that? I said, just have him drive back up with me in the trunk next week. Yeah. But so Harris, that rascal, we're going down the road. I'm like, all right, Chris, let me out. Those like a 97 or 98 Camaro's got that glass on the back. He goes, no, man, we got marks following us. I can't pull over yet. He drove 15 or 20 minutes down the road telling me there's marks following us with me just in the trunk. So he wouldn't pull over to let me get up front. So we actually went to the bar. We pulled like training pants on over. We went in. I had kick pads and my boots on to Bar Nashville right there on 2nd Avenue, man. But we made it in time to have a little fun before we finished the evening. But that's a couple. You know what? There's a couple of Bert stories about me really pissing him off.
Yeah, when you make Bert mad, I never made him mad when the 3 times I worked for him, three different years. I never made him mad. Boy, I seen a bunch of them. It was just so it was funny. It was so funny to see him get mad.
He used to stay mad at David Young. So David's the only guy I've ever heard of to show up the day before a show into the town and miss the show.
Yes. I've heard this story.
He told that story on Wolfie's podcast, I think.
Did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't remember what happened, but David, we were like in Missouri or something. David shows up the day before. He gets in town early because David was always late. He got there the day before trying to be a good boy and missed the show. I don't remember what happened, but he never made it. Yeah.
It has to do with a female. You go listen to the Wolfie show with David, and yeah.
With David, that doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, say he came early the day before and still missed the show. I love that story. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Completely missed it. Like I think he just no-showed the whole deal. I think Bert probably thought he was in jail or something, but he just completely no-showed it.
Yes, that is a great story. Oh man, thank you for reminding me of that one.
All right, so when WCW there, that first little run you were in, you worked handicap matches with Chronic, Brian Adams and Brian Clark.
Absolutely.
Those guys, Crush and Adam Bomb, or whatever their other names were, but yeah. So how was working those? Those guys were monsters, man.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it, man. So those guys, for some reason, Brian and Brian really took a liking to me. I don't know if it's because I was smaller and just. I was one of those guys that I just take whatever, you know what I mean? But man, and those guys were rough. They would really, they worked really snug. They weren't going to hurt anybody, but that you were going to know that you got roughed up pretty good, especially if they didn't like you. But man, and I with my hand to the air, those guys never stiffed me. Never. Everything was as light as a feather. It was as easy as anything's ever been. It's funny. They actually started. I think I'd make the joke. I don't know who beat me more in WCW 3-count or Chronic, but because I've jobbed for both of them several times. But they would actually go. There was a couple times they were penciled in to work with somebody else, and they would go to management and ask them to put me in there instead, which is a huge compliment, man.
Yes.
You know, growing up, I was a huge Demolition guy, so I loved Crush, and I was a big Night Stalker fan and a big Adam Bomb fan. So getting to be around those guys was, man, wonderful. It's funny you bring that up. Yeah, I just thought of something. There's I think it was on Worldwide where I worked with those guys, and they both did. You remember the Tilt-A-Whirl backbreaker that Brian Adams used to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So Brian Clark did it some, and I don't remember. I think Brian Clark gave it to me instead of Brian Adams, but I was like, hey, let's do it before Brian does it, because they would always like try to. The other one would try to do it first, and I think Brian Clark did it first, and Brian Adams said, "You stole my." And I don't want to say the exact word, but I think on the video you can hear him saying, "You stole my stuff," you know, because we got it in there on it before he could do it to me. But man, great guys, and honestly, it looked like they were beating the hell out of me. Because man, just those guys were fun to work with. I always tell people, you know, you haven't lived until you've been in the ring and heard the Chronic theme and seen those two guys coming to get you. You know.
Yeah.
But again, man, I don't know why they liked me. Thankfully, they did. But never, I mean, not even like something snug. They never stiffed me. They never, nothing was ever even tight. Everything was very, very easy. So.
That's cool. Yeah, man. That's very cool.
We'll be right back with more Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
The story continues. WCW Magazine, the official publication of World Championship Wrestling.
Awesome!
Not just a catalog, but page after page of everything you want in a magazine.
Really?
Hard-hitting features and inside information.
I can't believe they printed that.
And you can save 33% on your subscription.
Yo, subscribe today and save some pay.
On newsstands worldwide, it's WCW Magazine.
Well, you're back in Wildside. You actually got to work a couple matches with the Homicidal, Genocidal, Suicidal, Sabu. How was that, bro?
Oh man, so okay. Have you guys seen the first match?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, man, let me. I'll start by saying I'll preface it with all this. So, Sabu was a hero, man, and we got to really make amends and get to, you know, everything. We never had heat, man, but there was a lot of. I was very, very let down by how that first match went. Sabu was a guy that, I mean, honestly, I stole a lot of stuff from. I was never as good as him, but I can do the triple jumps. I can do those kind of things. And just Sabu was one. You know, how does Sabu not make a lot of Mount Rushmores? You know, he changed the way the business was forever. You know,
completely.
When Bill said, "Hey, man, I'm going to bring him in," you know. You were going to have two matches. You're getting one of them. AJ gets the other. And I said, man, it's huge, you know. So I'm completely excited. You know, it's close to getting to work one of your big heroes. I never get to wrestle Shawn Michaels. Never get to wrestle Brett. But to get to work with Sabu, man, this was huge. It was, I mean, honestly, supposed to be one of the greatest nights of my life, right? Mm-hmm. So we get there, we go through the match. It was in Athens, Georgia. He was very gracious. He let me kind of tell him what I wanted to do. I had some spots like it was a college crowd too, man, in a bar. The way we had it laid out, if everything came off the way we had it laid out, it would have been a masterpiece as far as, you know, crowd response. I was going to go for the triple jump and slip and kind of crotch myself on the top rope. I roll out to the floor. Sabu hits his triple jump. Place is going to blow. You know, those kind of things, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, and I won't go into a lot of details, but Sabu had an off night that night. Just wasn't quite where he was at Showtime as he was before, earlier in the night. And things happen, Sabu was in a lot of pain, man. We all saw how what he did to his body. So you can't begrudge a guy for being in pain. But when it got time for the match, it wasn't quite where we thought we were going to be. And that's kind of as harsh as I would ever want to be on that. Because again, nice guy, man. He was always friendly to me. We got to spend some time together afterwards. But things just off nearly the way it should be. He was a little slower than kind of we thought he was going to be. Forgot the belt on the way to the ring. A couple things like that. But the second night he showed up and he was Sabu though. So that second night, and I'll kind of leave that. I never want to bury somebody who's especially not with us anymore or
right.
who made right by stuff. Again,
sure.
Man, great guy, still a hero. Getting to be in the ring with him was wonderful. But if you watch that first match, you can kind of draw your own conclusions from what I'm kind of getting to.
Yeah. Right.
But that second night, we get there, and AJ was still pretty green to the business, at this point. He'd only been in like 2 years. And so Bill said, we can't really we don't know what we're going to have tonight. That's the easy way to put it. So we're going to do an angle where Tank Abbott's going to come out, because we had Tank from WCW at the time. Tank's going to come out and knock Sabu out. He's going to do something with him in a promo. AJ's going to take the NWA World Title belt. We're going to get 2 weeks of TV out of this one angle. And then, so time for the match, the lights go off, the crowd's hot, they're expecting Sabu. And we had a big kind of a carryover from the night before of people who, in the crowd, they were right there with us. They didn't know what they were going to get. There was a huge letdown that night before. All the people that expected me and Sabu to have this great match, they were just as upset about it as I was. You could tell, you could hear some of the audio on that match. But the lights go off, they come back on, and it's me in the ring instead of Sabu, because I had done that thing a few times in Wildside. So do a little promo. Me and AJ work 7 or 8 minutes, get it really, really hot, man. He puts me on a table outside the ring, goes up to the top rope, and as soon as he gets up, the lights go off again. And then you got the people there. Dude, it was electric. Dan the Dragon Wilson, who's the Rev, in like Chattanooga wrestling area, does a lot of deathmatch stuff.
Yeah.
He's on the call, man. The place is going nuts. I'm on the table. The lights come back on. Sabu's in the ring. Comes over, knocks Alan off. Comes over, puts me through the table, does the dive over, and we know we've got Sabu. We're off to the races at that point. He's perfect. He's exactly who we needed.
Yeah.
So he does it was a short thing, but he did 2-3 minutes worth of stuff with AJ, and then got all the highlights in, made everybody happy, made everything whole from the night before. And we sent everybody home happy, thankfully. But that was just another thing where, Bill relied pretty heavily, and thankfully we were over pretty good in Wildside, me and AJ, as a feud. Yeah. So we were able to, given the fans, 8 or 9 minutes of me and him, didn't completely just turn the crowd off. Thankfully, if you're expecting Sabu and you get Air Paris, most times people are going to kind of, it's like a fart in church, but thankfully that really came off very well, because that crowd, had us kind of on that pedestal too. So worked out well.
Awesome. That is great. And to hear that, you kind of, everything came back, and, because a lot of times they say don't meet your heroes, right? That's kind of the thing. And in the wrestling industry, 9 times out of 10, if you're any good, you're going to end up meeting your hero. You know what I mean? And so,
absolutely. And again, man, dude, Sabu, I mean, he would miss some things, but he would miss stuff on purpose too, just so it would look like he was more reckless anyway. He would work like quote unquote botches into his matches, just so it would look like he was clumsy or missing stuff. It just made his style look that much more reckless. Yeah, but
that's amazing.
Just still a hero.
Makes sense.
It was awesome. But it was good to get to kind of make everything right after that too. To kind of have that full circle moment where that kind of respect came. He showed me respect back after the way that first one went. So it was good.
Very cool. That is awesome. Great to hear.
Yeah,
2001, you're continuing on. It brings you a few matches with your buddy AJ Styles, where you all swapped the TV title back and forth. I mean, phenomenal one, AJ Styles. How phenomenal is AJ, right? Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's marginal at best, really. I mean, I tried to get him to copyright the marginal AJ Styles, but he just didn't think it rolled off the tongue. No, man. Honestly, you can't look at somebody when they're a year into the business and say they're going to be the greatest wrestler for the next 25 years. But man, I knew it was going to be good because it was one of those things where Bill just one night put us against each other, not sure how or why it came together, but it worked, had good chemistry. We enjoyed working with each other. At that point, this kind of comes back to where they thought I had psychology, but it was just, hey, I blew up, so I would work rest holds and a little bit of story in there so I could catch my breath again. But man, everything I could ever think of, like, did you guys ever play Tekken? The game Tekken?
Yes.
There was a move where, like, King, the Jaguar or the cat character, he would grab somebody's foot and then he would spin under and they would fly up in the air and do a bunch of spins. Do you remember that move?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a toe drag, like a dragon screw or something. So one night I said, hey, Alan, do you think we could do this? And he goes, yeah. And I said, do we need to work on it? He goes, no, we'll just do it. Just call it out there. And dude, we started doing this Tekken move, like literally just because I said, hey, can you do it? He jumps and does like 4 spins in the air. Just unbelievably. Yeah, just athletically, unbelievable, man. So, and he would let me lay out matches. He used to give me a lot of credit and say, hey, Paris could put a match together better than anybody at one point. That's before he started working with really good people. But I mean, honestly, dude, I mean, who's better though, honestly, than him?
Oh man, I don't know many, honestly. To me,
he's a big gamer too, so I'm sure he loved that tech. That do that Tekken thing. So
yeah. Hey, shout out to the Phenomenally Retro podcast, I think is the name of his show.
Yeah.
Check it out, guys. Check it out. Well, continuing on with AJ, back in WCW, you and AJ work a dark match, but then you start tagging as Air Raid. What a great team you guys made. I mean, obviously you're best friends, but still, like, you guys work so well together. Which you actually continued to tag in Wildside after WCW was through. So were there any, I guess, to talk about WWE, should we go into that maybe?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, WWE never, I was never approached by WWE. I was lucky to get the spot I got with WCW. I think I was never, it's funny, I told him at Raw, I said, man, if I was in the shape I'm in now 25 years ago, I'd be working the show. And he laughed. He's like, dude, you're right.
Yeah.
But man, so the Air Raid thing, we got to do that dark match. They called us up to Baltimore. JJ had came to Wildside and saw us do a thing and said, hey man, I'll bring you guys up to do it. And it's funny, our dark match was, and the Super Bowl that year was the Giants and the Ravens, I believe.
Okay.
I want to say it was that because we were in Baltimore the day of that Super Bowl. So like the entire company from Eric Bischoff all the way down to me, who I'm just a dark match hopeful for a local guy, is in this big sports bar in the mall. I think it's called Gillian's or something like that. Watching this thing, man. So I'm down at the very end of this table. We're down there with like Shannon and Shane and those guys. And Arn Anderson comes walking in, man. Arn walks in. He's wearing like he's got the denim vest that matches his jeans, the acid wash jeans. Got his boots on. He's got the medallion necklace. He's the enforcer,
Yeah.
And there's only one seat in the entire place, and he sits right next to me. And I've never been as kind of humbled and starstruck as when Arn Anderson looked at me and says, "What are you drinking, kid?" And I said, "Beer, sir." He pulls an Ice House out of his vest. He smuggled his own Ice House beer in. And so he pulled one out and gave me an Ice House, man. And I thought, I have made it in life. I'm drinking beer with the enforcer. It was the coolest thing ever, man.
Oh.
So Borash comes to me. Bob Ryder was a big proponent for me and AJ. And Borash was pulling for us real hard. And they basically told us that night, I guess they were already timing the show out, said they weren't going to have time to do our match. So basically, they were gonna pull it. They were gonna have to try to reschedule us. And this is that Sunday before. So Borash takes us, and I think Bob Ryder as well, takes us to, I want to say it's Bischoff's table. I don't remember who all was there. And he's like, "Can you give these guys 7 minutes?" And he said, "That's all they need? Sure, give it to them." And we got a job. We went out, and of course AJ did the shooting star to the floor. We just did all of our stuff, just one of our normal matches, except for that big bump. And when we came back through the curtain, Arn Anderson and Terry pulled us aside and said, "Man, that was great." They did give us a little bit of feedback. They said because we weren't wearing gear, I was a Hardy knockoff, and Alan was wearing warm-up pants and tennis shoes. He said, Arn said, if you guys were wearing pro wrestling gear, those people would never forget your name. Right now, they'll never remember who you are because you look just like one of them. Get some gear. We're going to give you guys jobs.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's cool. Yeah, man. How cool is that?
Very cool. Yeah.
The air raid thing was they just decided they didn't have anything else to do with us. So they put us together as a tag. If you don't have something, it's the Bert thing. You got two baby faces you don't know what to do with. Let's put them together, right?
Yeah, right.
So, again, it's funny. Alan says, man, we had, 100 matches that were better than anything we ever did at the air raid, because I think we were only air raid literally one time on TV. Like, I think we tagged maybe 3 or 4, but they only did the air raid thing, I think, one time. But they paid for, like, the strobe lights and this and the new music and all that stuff, and we literally used it one time.
Was that during that cruiserweight tournament, or what was?
Yeah. I think it was us and Elix and Romeo, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
That's cool.
But man, again, Pinzer tells the story, and I love David Pinzer, but Pinzer, I hope he's not misremembering. It's a cool story for me because he tells the story that AJ and I were supposed to win that.
Wow.
Now, he said that on social media like fairly recently that the plan was they were just going to dark horse the whole thing and put us over in it, just strap the rocket to us, I guess. But for some reason that changed. They went with Romeo and Elix. I mean, Alan was in good shape, but I was a skinny fat guy. And so they went with those guys. And then, it's kind of cool to think of what could have happened, if it had gone our way. But I mean, that's just, you can't really, hindsight's always 20/20, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, a third of our show exists on the idea of what if happened, like with Magnum TA and all these things. So that's cool. That's another what if, So, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Go ahead.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You just mentioned him a minute ago. What's your memories of Bob Ryder?
Oh, Bob was great, man. Did you get to be around him a lot?
A few times, not a lot.
So Bob was one of the Borash were in the infancy. Those guys were like they were on the cutting edge of the internet when it was the first thing, right? So
yeah.
Before the internet was even, I think, called the internet, I think it was still, people called it the World Wide Web at that point, if that tells you how old I am. But they would do that WCW live show from house shows. They would play audio. They would broadcast that so you couldn't hear the matches or see the matches, but you could hear what was going on and hear some commentary. They would kind of pipe into it too. And then after the shows, they would do the internet like call-in shows, which is, I mean, that, as far as I know, they were kind of the first people ever doing that. Like back when it was, I don't know if you remember Prodigy or anything like that before, like AOL was even a thing.
Yep.
But Bob was a huge proponent for us too, man. He's one of those guys, and Chris Harris, James Storm will tell you, if you needed an advocate, if Bob Ryder liked you, man, he would push for you to the moon. I mean, that's how AMW, I think, really got their first opportunity and got pushed so hard. Those are Bob Ryder guys, man.
Yeah.
We went fishing. Me and a guy named Adam Jacobs went fishing with Bob off of Venice, Louisiana. Bob had this huge boat, man. We got this. We packed all these beers and stuff. And Bob's like, "You're not going to drink any beer." And I'm like, "Hell yes, we are. We're gonna drink beer. We're gonna fish. We're gonna eat crazy, And we got out there and we got so sick. Neither of us, we never even opened the cooler, man. I don't even know how much fishing we did, but it was a fun time. But man, we went into it thinking we were these big mean wrestlers and think we're gonna drink all this beer. I don't think we popped the top on one single beer.
Seasick.
Hey, speaking of Adam Jacobs, tell us about him, because I think he gets overlooked a lot. He was in that Wildside thing. It seemed like people overlooked him, but he was really good.
Adam's still good. I think he still wrestles some. He looks better now than he ever has. Adam's a North Georgia guy. He got brought to Wildside. He got brought in. He was kind of floundering too, man. I would never take any credit for anything because Adam was always super talented. But when Adam got there, he was teaming with like a guy named Silky Boom Boom, and they called him the American Males, and Adam hated it.
Yep.
He absolutely hated it. And Adam, we would ride together. You know, that's where those best kind of tag teams or groups or whatever, that's where they come from, is when they're just your friends, you know? And so we would ride together. It was me, Adam, Dan the Dragon Wilson, goes as the Red now. We would all travel because we came from the same side of North Georgia. And Adam's personality, he's so funny, man. He's irreverent, he's sarcastic, and he's a really funny dude. He's a lot like Brad Armstrong. He's one of those guys that when he first got there, his personality didn't show through on television at all. I mean, he was, and not to disparage him, but he was milquetoast. The gimmick he was in just wasn't working, and he wasn't being himself. He wasn't comfortable, and he wasn't where he should be. And so it's funny, I said, Bill, I was doing a thing called Suicidal Tendencies with me and John Phoenix, who was unbelievable. If you haven't seen John Phoenix wrestle, go find it. He's unbelievable. Jason Cross was with us a little bit too, who was in TNA some. But I said, Bill, put him with us. And so next thing you know, we flip Adam Hill with us. He puts on a crop top T-shirt that says "Your mom's hot" or something like that. Starts being himself on TV, and Adam just completely took off, man. Became one of the most over, and probably more over than I was in Wildside. And once he was comfortable, man, his work just blew up, just unbelievable. Again, I think, you know, if he'd gotten an opportunity at that point, I don't see any reason he wouldn't have had a run like as an X Division champion too, man. He was that good.
Yeah, he was really good, really good.
So bringing up the X Division, you know, after WCW kind of AJ and a bunch of guys you wrestled were building that X Division in TNA. Was there any talks of maybe you there? I mean, you seem like you'd been a natural fit.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to that stuff, man. So I tell people 21-year-olds should never be allowed to make their own decisions when it comes to their life, right?
Amen.
So when WCW folded, what I did was I stuck my head up my rear end and I sulked because, remember, I'd been wrestling at that point since September 25th, 1993. So I had all this experience, 8 years. I thought I was this grizzled vet at 21, 22 years old. And, you work for something all your life, or seemingly all your life, because it was at that point 8 years of 22. And then that rug gets pulled out from under you, man. What do? There's one of two things you can do. You can either regroup and come back after it, or you can do what I did. And you can throw your head up your rear end and think that the business or the world owes you something, and completely let other opportunities go. And that's what I did. And it was stupid of me. Bob, Borash, all those guys, man, they were like, hey, TNA's, we're here. This is natural for you. And I just never, I got out of shape. I wasn't mentally anywhere near where I should have been for anything, for life, let alone wrestling, I absolutely let a pro wrestling company being bought just derail my life for a while. It's one of those things where I took it way harder than I should have. And honestly, looking back at it, I'm like, God almighty, there's so many more things in life that are more important than pro wrestling. But at that point in that moment, man, that was the biggest thing that ever happened to me. And I didn't do well with it. I didn't do well with it at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's tough, man. Because I was just, I was thinking, I was like, man, I swear he was there. I was thinking, dude,
that's what I hear.
Yeah. He had to have been there.
Well, those were all my friends, man. It's one of those things where it would have been a natural fit. But honestly, again, man, again, hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
It's funny, AJ, because right after WCW, at first I thought, man, it might be okay. Bill was kind of keeping my head on straight for me a little bit. And Alan said, man, we're fresh off TV. We got matching gear. We can get bookings on the indies. Let's just keep doing this. Let's keep tagging, and let's just see what we can do with it. We'll make a run with it. Yeah. And I just, honestly, I had no desire for it. I lost every bit of love for wrestling in that little year or so period. started no-showing some shows. Bill still booked me for Wildside. Man, I had never done that before. I would drink some beers before matches and things like that. You know, just stupid stuff, man. Just being a completely immature, honestly, almost like a baby. I was just sulked up, pissed off at the world, and I didn't really care who saw it. It was a terrible time in my life as far as perception. Thankfully, Bill doesn't hate me for it. I let him down quite a bit, no-showing and things like that. For somebody who did so much for me, for me to do Bill like that, I still feel bad about that, but he's never held that against me, which shows you kind of how good of a dude he is. But, you know, like I said, hindsight's 20/20. It all brings you to where you are, you know, right now. And, and I'm in a pretty good spot. So I never complain too much, man. My kids don't get their room clean as much as I would like, but other than that, life's pretty doggone good.
Hey, great perspective, man. Seriously. Yeah.
All right. So December of 2005, you worked for Vince Russo's Ring of Glory. You worked a four-way ladder match with Jimmy Rave, rest in peace, CJ Summers, and Sal Renario.
Yep.
How was it working for Russo?
So tell me if this is the most Vince Russo thing you've ever heard in your entire life. Have you seen that match?
I have not. I've looked for it, but I want to watch it, but I have not.
The match was called Stairway to Heaven match. So the whole show, it was cool, man. And Vince Russo's been very nice to me, man. I know he's polarizing and some people don't like him. Vince has been public too on Twitter. You know, a couple years ago, he was like, "This kid had everything. He was great, man. I'm an Air Paris fan," or I don't remember how he put it, but Vince has always been very nice to me. You know, bro. Yeah, he called me bro. But he, you know, he was running a show at the Forum in Rome, Georgia, which is I'm a hometown Rome, you know, North Georgia guy. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted me to be in that kind of, guess, because I was the local guy. You know, I don't want to say hometown hero, but I was the local guy. And so the whole show was a play, basically where Paul Bearer was the devil, Bill Moody was the devil, and he was trying to get Jimmy Rave's soul. Right? Okay. So the show's called House of Glory. It was the whole thing like that. So the match we were in was called the Stairway to Heaven match, and there was a sword, a legitimate, pointy, sharp sword, hanging over the ring while we wrestled. Jimmy looks up and he goes, "Frank, if this thing falls," I said, "we're dead." He said, "Absolutely." There's a legitimate sword hanging, you know. For what it was, the show came off good, but there was an actual legitimate sword hanging over the ring. That's a first and only.
That's crazy.
Oh, man.
I want one.
Yeah.
Jimmy was one of those guys, like you said, rest in peace, man. James was the kid who, and God, this makes me feel even older, but Jimmy was a kid who grew up in North Georgia, and he would sit in the front row of little shows that we would do. You know, I remember he and I tagged in the parking lot. You guys ever do Ted Allen the Nightmare? He would run shows in like mobile home parking lots and things like that. He would, those shows. So Jimmy and I tagged in the parking lot of a mobile home dealership one time. But Jimmy would come to those shows, man, sit front row. Chip Day, another really good wrestler from the Georgia area, he was the same way. Jimmy said he grew up watching us, you know, and then went on to become unbelievable. Jimmy was a great wrestler, man. Hate that, you know, his life was as short as it was and kind of wasn't as good as he deserved towards the end. But, man, Jimmy was one of those guys that getting to wrestle with and getting to be around and you know, probably a year or so, maybe two before he passed, we got together and it was Chip and I and David and Jimmy and Terry Lawler from the North Georgia area. We got a picture of all of us and we all signed it. And I still have that. That's something I hold pretty dear, you know.
That's awesome.
Gone way too soon. Way too soon.
Definitely. Such a
thankfully,
sad.
Thankfully, the sword didn't get us that night. That's the good thing.
Thank God.
So in 2009, you started working for, I guess is it Perks International Championship Wrestling?
Yeah, man. It is.
Was you the booker?
Yeah, so that show came about. So after 2001, and after I started doing the no-shows and stuff, that's when that break I was telling you guys about came into play. I just completely got away from wrestling. Just had no desire to be around it, and just kind of just separated myself from it as far as I could. You guys, I don't know if you've ever had that point where you just get as far from it as you can, but that was where I was. I started kind of dipping my toes back in a little bit, doing some like just booking independent shows. I worked Lawler on a show, which was fun, man. I got a funny story about that one. Again, about me blowing up, which just seems to be a common theme too. But that Perk show, there was a local. You've probably heard this kind of story a bunch of times too. There was a local promotion who was running a nice building, and they up and ran off on the building promoter, didn't pay some rent, and the building guy, he wanted to have a show. He wanted to have something in his building. So I said, man, let's do this together. And he said, what are you thinking? So I put a show together, and the very first show we ran, I brought Scott Steiner in. Yeah. Went through Bill, of course. Bill's always worked with me. He's always helped agent stuff for me too. And so the promoter that I was working with said, man, if this works, we'll see what we can do going forward. So I said, give me the money. I'm going to bring Steiner in. I had him work with Bobby Hayes. One thing you'll learn with me is every time I had a chance to run a show, all I did was book my friends, Adam, David, Bobby, all those guys, because my friends are all just happen to be really good pro wrestlers, right? And I know I can depend on them.
Yeah.
So put Scott with Bobby, and man, the promotion that ran off was drawing probably 35, 40 people. I think that first show we put about 1,300 people in the building for Steiner. And so before the show, after our walk-up was up, the promoter came up to me. He said, can we do another one next month? So I went to Scotty and said, man, can we get Rick for next month? I want to bring you guys both in. So at the very end of it, we did a thing. It was like wrestling fantasy camp for me, man. Basically, I did stuff that was fun. So the next month was me and Bobby. We wrestled the Steiner brothers, which I know I say a lot, but I've got a funny story about that one too. But man, it was just fun. I just booked friends and had fun with it. It's basically hot shotting every month, just using a big name to draw the crowd and then filling it in with my buddies. But I mean, it worked. I mean, we probably ran a year or so before the promoter kind of got burned out. He got tired of having to fill concession stands and do that kind of stuff. But it was fun while it lasted.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, you brought him up. Let's hear them funny Lawler and Steiner stories.
So the Lawler story is hilarious, man. So, of course, Bert brokered that deal for me. We wrestled him in Rome, Georgia, of course, hometown guy, right? And so I go to Lawler, and he's like, Bert goes, what's the finish, King? And he goes, well, he's not beating me, that's for sure. That was the first thing he said. I said, no expectation of that, sir. And so we get in the ring, and I'm dipping my toes back in the business. My cardio it was bad when I was wrestling full time. So you can imagine how it was when I'd been out of the business for a while. So we wrestled for 4-5 minutes maybe. And I snap Mary Lawler out of the corner, and he pops right up. He hits his butt and stands right up and goes, no rest holds. And I said, I'm blown up. And he looks around at me right in front of like 800 people, and he goes, how? How are you blown up right now? Just stopped and asked me right in front of everybody. And I'm heaving and huffing, and I'm like, I don't know, King, but I am. So he just slows it down. Master of psychology. Lawler slows it down, lets me breathe, and it was awesome, dude. Getting to work with Lawler is so cool. He's one of those guys who, Jim Cornette, he said one time, of the most exciting wrestling matches I've ever seen, Jerry Lawler's been in most of them.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, the Steiner story, if you and I don't mean to just keep telling stories, but if you want to hear the Steiner story, I was nervous wrestling those guys too, because it's the Steiners, right? So I go to them before the match, and of course I'm booking, and Rick says, what are we doing? And I said, sir, I'm going to be honest, I really don't feel comfortable telling you guys what to do. And so Scott goes, what are we doing? With that big intimidating voice. And I said, well, I was thinking the Bulldog would be a good finish. And he said, that's perfect. And so we get in the ring, and Scotty could tell I'm nervous. I start with Scott, which Bobby Hayes is as big as Scott Steiner. He's just not as muscular. But for some reason, I start with him, right, which makes all the psychological sense in the world. And he can tell how nervous I am. So we do something silly, and I do the old heel spot where I I slide back and I crotch myself on the post, you know. And when I do, Scotty comes over and he stands on my hand. And when I say stands on my hand, I'm not going anywhere. Like, he has me. I'm there. And he looks at me and he grins and he looks over at Rick and he goes, fight him. And I'm like, what? Fight who? So he looks at Rick and goes, fight him. And so Rick looks at me, jumps off the apron, and he comes over with that, you know, that kind of a goofy Rick Steiner grin he does?
Yeah.
He looks at me like, oh, well, Bubba, and he bit me on my rear end so hard. I thought he was gonna tear through my pants. Man, I was wearing those like pleather pants. And so if you had needed Rick Steiner's dental records, man, I had them for probably 6 to 7 days after that. But I knew right then but I knew they weren't trying to hurt me, man. I knew those guys were just there to have fun, and they completely disarmed me, and the nerves went away. But yeah, again, Chronic didn't beat me up, but the Steiner brothers left teeth marks on my butt pretty good. So.
That's amazing.
My wife is rolling her eyes right now. My wife's sitting beside me. She's pretending she's not listening to these stories, but I think she's just hoping that the girls aren't paying too much attention to some of these.
Well, brother, this has been incredible. I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. You've been awesome with us. I want you to have a good vacation with your family. We got to do this another time and get some more out of you, brother. But we have one final question, and that one always goes to the Plastic Sheik. Take it away, Sheik.
I'm gonna make this a 2-part question. First question I want to ask you. You know, it's been a dream match that has been talked about, and both these guys, since they're on your Mount Rushmore, let's ask you about it. AJ versus Shawn.
I know
Michaels.
exactly where you're going.
AJ,
Absolutely.
Shawn Michaels. How you think that match goes?
So do you want me to be politically correct, or do you want me to tell you what I really think?
I tell you what. Tell me what you really think.
So I think Shawn Michaels could have done that match 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to have that match, and people say, AJ really is better.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly it. I think because Shawn was still in good enough shape, he could have still had that match and it been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think he just didn't want to take the question mark away of who's better. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
And I'll tell you that as far as in-ring ability, there's nobody that can do what either of those guys have ever done.
Right.
I think athletically, Alan blows him out of the water. He does things that other humans just can't do. And of course I'm biased. He's my friend, but I mean, honestly, he's a step above everybody else as far as being athletically gifted.
Right.
Now, where Shawn comes into play though is he had such a platform for those big moments, and he could create that drama and those huge crowds and those stadiums and all those just dramatic moments where he wasn't doing the crazy 450s or tables or anything like that, but those moments that he created were just so big. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That I really wish that him and Alan would have gotten to do that. And I think they could have. I think AJ actually pitched it. I don't know that from any inside information. I think he did. But I honestly, my gut tells me that Shawn probably just didn't want to take that little bit of doubt people have away. And he may have, who knows, he could have ran circles around Alan, which I don't think he would have. But I think having that doubt where people can't ever say definitively who was better, I think he would rather just leave it there and let that always be that question.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Now to the real question, my real final question.
Okay.
If you look back on your career and you look at a match and you say, that was my favorite match I was ever a part of, what would that be?
Okay, so I've got a couple of cool things, man. So one's for a cool moment, and it's a match nobody's probably ever going to see, but it was a cool moment. I'll see if I can find the video and I'll send it to you. Okay. As far as, is it okay if I mention a couple, like honorable mentions?
Of course. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris Harris and I, we wrestled for the Tojo Yamamoto show. We were the main event one year, and we went to Bert and we said, hey, and me and Chris, we always travel together, man. And we had these delusions, man. We were like, let's do 30 minutes. We want to do a big main event. We want to build this up and do all these false finishes, and we want it to be like this gigantic, that WWE style main event. And of course, Bert said, you guys can't do 30 minutes. Like, there's no way. Yes, I'll give you 30, but there's no way you can even do it. You can't keep the crowd. So Chris and I go out, and from the start of the match to the finish, we did 29 minutes and 59 seconds. So at the end of the day, Bert was correct. We didn't do 30. We got 29:59. But that's a really fun one. It was good. I mean, it was working with one of my best friends at the time, and just riding down the road and coming up with the spots and then pulling it off. Man, a guy had ate too much pizza and fell off the bleachers, and they thought he was having a heart attack right before we went out. So we were delayed by like 20 minutes. So the crowd was already a little dead. But that's a really fun one. Man, that dark match with AJ that nobody will ever see where we got the jobs. That was just being there with a buddy of mine and trying to get to that dream that we worked so hard for, and coming back and saying, hey, having that validation of this company saying, hey, you guys are good enough. We want you. That's a huge thing, man.
Dude.
But there was
for a Southern boy in WCW, that had to be huge, man. Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. And that following Wednesday, my mom texted me or called me and said, hey, Frank, there's a FedEx here on the front step for you. I was like, oh, my God, dude, I'm tearing up right now. Like, there's a contract sitting on my front step. I'm at a show for Bill, I think in Athens, Georgia, to be honest with you, at that bar. And so then driving home, and those butterflies, man, and when you get there and you open it up, and there's, Danny Ingles' name on it, George Davidson, and the huge WCW logo, now not to mention that it was the lowest offer in the history of any contract in the history of the business. Don't take that into account, but it still was a contract with my name on it, the WCW logo, which is unbelievable,
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, Bill did tell us to turn the contract down, and I thought he was insane. We ended up getting like $300 more a week, but I thought he was absolutely nuts. I was ready to sign it in blood if I had to.
I mean, it would have been so hard not to. I mean, thank God for Bill, but
yeah, it was a very, very low offer. I mean, but who were we? And they knew we were going to take whatever. We used the same attorney in Cincinnati Chris Harris had used, and we got more. They gave us a really good per night deal. And then Terry Taylor loved us, so he would send us. We actually got paid to work for Wildside, so they would send us, and that may be part of the reason WCW went out of business. They would send us, 3 or 4 nights. We would do Nitro or Thunder, and then go 2 or 3 nights with Bill. And they were paying us, $500 a night or whatever to go do those shows too. So we were doing well and working, even though it was still just hanging out with our friends around Georgia.
Yeah, that is awesome, bro.
Now
that's so cool.
That other match, you guys know some East Tennessee guys, don't you?
Yeah. Do
you know a guy named Jonathan Lou Allen?
Oh, Q, do you know that?
He wrestled his J. Just a smart man. He worked with like NGW with Sean Schultz and those guys. That's how I got to know him.
Repeat that name. He wrestled as it broke up for a second.
ADL, like Jonathan David Lou Allen, I think.
Okay.
Almost like an MJF kind of anagram.
Okay.
Great guy, man. Super worker, super light. It's funny when I got to work with him for I think it's Next Generation Wrestling. They came and did a show in Rome, and the first thing I said, hey man, what do you want to do? And he said, brother, all I want to do is not get injured. he said, all I want to. He said, as long as you don't hurt me, we'll do anything you want to do. So I pitched a spot to him, man. And at this point, my oldest daughter, Perry, she was, oh my God, how old was Perry? Probably 7. Probably 7, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Very, very small little girl. And I pitched a spot to him, and thankfully he trusted me. I said, dude, I've got the video of it. It's very cool, man. So I said, why don't you drag me over to my kid and just get in her face and let's work a slap spot in there. And he said, can your 7, and it's funny, Nova called me out. He's like, really? And then he saw it. He's like, okay, you're a pro. It worked. But at first they were like, you're going to do a slap spot with a 7-year-old. And I said, trust me, it'll be perfect. And I'm from this area, and the people there know me. Again, hometown guy, right?
Yeah.
So he takes me over, and he's just beating me up in front of her. And my daughter comes over, and she's just this tiny little blonde-haired kid, right? And he's got me in her face. Well, what are you going to do, little girl? And this kid at 7 years old, she looks to her right, she looks to her, and the people start coming up. And she's milking it, man, at 7 years old with no, like, I told her when he says, well, hit him, right? That's all she knew. Yeah. She looks to her right, she looks to her left, and the place starts coming up, man, and the people they're there for it. She's milking it, and she rears back and slaps the piss out of him, and the place blows. Like, she milked it better than 90% of indie guys would nowadays. So then he starts pinballing. He starts pinball feeding back and forth between me and her. Oh, it's so good, man. So just to get to do that and have that spot with my kiddo, that's a real memorable, fun one, man. Plus, I didn't injure him, so he was happy about that. That's a real fun one, man.
That's awesome. And you might have a future star in the family. I know the wife probably wasn't want to hear that, but you know.
Well, she's going to do music, I think. We're buddies with some guys in some rock and roll bands. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a band called Blackberry Smoke, but we're friends with Charlie. Yeah, Charlie's the singer and the guitar player. And last time she saw him, he said he's going to make room for a flute in a song for her, because she plays flute in the band right now. So he's going to try to work her into something.
Hey, Jethro Tull made a whole career on that, man. So come on.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
Marshall Tucker band too. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie's doing that thing right now with the Toy Factory project with him and all the guys, Marcus King, and they're doing all the Marshall Tucker stuff. So pretty cool.
Dude, that is that's awesome. I know you're a huge music fan. Maybe we'll save that for Give Me Back My Rock and Roll. But we could talk rock and roll all day. You ask the guys, I'll wear your ear out. But bro,
anytime, man.
Thank you, man. Enjoy your vacation. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us, brother. Seriously, it's been a long time coming, a long time that I've wanted you on here, and I'm so glad we made it happen. Thank you.
No, man, I've enjoyed it. Thank you guys. If I can ever help you with anything, I don't mind. I've enjoyed it, man. So hopefully I didn't bore you too bad.
No, this has been exactly what expected. Thank you so much, Frank.
Hey, Frank. Let me ask something real fast. Whatever happened to Lance Dreamer?
I don't know, man. He was, again, another Georgia guy who deserved an opportunity. Lance was great looking, could wrestle. Really not sure what happened to him. He did the Nashville stuff and then kind of just fell off. I think he's like a business owner or something down towards the Atlanta area now, wrestling, so it didn't really affect him. But not real sure, man. We kind of fell off after Nashville.
Yeah, because he after he left Burton Porter, I worked him probably off and on for 2 years in a little place up in Gallatin, Tennessee. He would come up. Man. He was good. Really, really good.
Yeah, Rodney was a great wrestler, man. Had a good look to him. He was, again, just a pro, man. I don't really know where he started, but he's one of those guys. Again, man, that Nashville, when we were all there that time, everybody was good, man. Like the Chris Michaelses and those guys. Everybody had talent. We didn't really have anybody that you didn't want to work with on the card.
That's good. Well, thank you, Frank. Enjoy your trip, brother. Absolutely. Have a great one, dude. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right, y'all have a good one.
All right, brother.
Yes, sir. Thanks, man.
All right, that was the one and only Air Paris. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling after these messages.
Hey, my name is Tammy Reynolds. I am the wife of Forsaken Rick Reynolds, that super cool guy that everybody knows and loves. And I represent West Side Sauces. I make sauces, I bottle them, I seal them, I sell them. I have a hot honey sauce, I have a sweet sauce, I have a hot sauce, I have a white sauce that's so yummy you can use it on everything. They are absolutely amazing and I'm so proud of them. We make them from scratch. So go on our website, westsidesauces.com, check out our products, read about our story, and go online and order you some of these yummy sauces. And Rick actually uses all of the sauces because he is a die-hard smoker and griller, and so he likes really good sauces and rubs, and I make them, so how convenient is that for him? Go on our website, westsidesauces.com, order you some samples, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy them. Thank you guys. Be blessed.
All right, guys, we are back, and man, Frank was awesome. What a cool story. What a cool what if story too. I mean, you know, Frank, we discussed his time and of course in the early days, starting out at 14, North Georgia, you know, working with Bert and Bill Behrens and Wildside, Cornelia, man. I mean, his best friend, AJ, former guest and friend of the show, Cassidy Riley. Just some great names that he talked about there. And his story is so cool too, because, you know, brother touched the brass ring a little bit there. So once again, thank you so much, Frank. Great to have you on the show, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again sometime down the line. To continue on, of course, I got to bring up my buddy Pastor Rick and his ministry, Gideon's Warriors. They're talking wrestling stories and testimonies. If you'd like them for your church today, email Pastor Rick at icw2009@hotmail.com. Get on it. Book them now. And some more things here too. First off, gotta give a little shout out and praise here, because the main man himself, Ben Jordan, please continue to keep him in your prayers, but got some great news on his most recent MRI. It does show some of the tumors in his brain are shrinking, so that's really cool. Excellent news. Thank God for that. Thank you all so much for just praying. Just continue to keep Ben in your prayers. Another prayer request we have is Quinton's wife, Dana, is having surgery today. So just say a special prayer for her and Quinton, that they're all good. Also, just keep keep everybody on the show in your prayers. We greatly appreciate it. It means a lot. You guys probably think I go on and on about this, but this stuff's important to me. So I'm glad you're here to hear it. So anyway, I'm going to keep on saying it. Guys, before we wrap up, next episode, great episode. I can't wait to spill it, but I'm not going to do it here. If you want to find out who is on the next episode as fast as humanly possible, go to @GMBMPW on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Thank you so much for the ones that have already liked, shared, subscribed, followed. All that great stuff means the world to us. But most importantly, I got to thank the folks that are listening. You don't know how much that means to us. I hope we can show it in some way. If the interviews and Quinton's show, we just show you how much we appreciate you all listening. Thank you guys so much. So, for the one and only Air Frank Paris, the Plastic Sheik Jared Street, Quinton Quarisma, and myself, this has been Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and we'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget,
it was eventually going to happen. NWA Worldwide in Nashville, NWA Wildside in Georgia, the two had to finally meet. AJ Styles, I listened for a year and a half about how damn good you are, how great the match would be if we wrestled, AJ, how we would take the people to another level when they see a high-flying match. AJ, I come to Georgia. You know, I was the man in Nashville. That's no secret, you know, AJ. You're down here running the show. You're kissing Steve Martin's ass. You're carrying Jeff G. Bailey's bags. You're brushing your little ass. AJ, I hate you. You're sick. I don't care what you say. You're not getting pushed around in this business. AJ, you think it's a wrestling angle. You may think this is some kind of storyline. AJ, this is going way beyond suicidal tendencies. This has gone way beyond Nashville. It's gone way beyond Georgia. This has gone way beyond that damn television belt, AJ. You may think all I want is to wrap that gold belt around my waist, AJ. But you're dead wrong, brother. Because the only thing I want is your ass.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
This has been a James Rock Street production.